This is Timesplitters 2 on the Nintendo Gamecube, and this is the first GameCube review from Classic Game Room. This is being played off of the Nintendo Wii, and as I've mentioned before, the Timesplitters series of video games is one of my favorite series ever created. I simply love Timesplitters.
Come in. Stupid radio.
Golly, this reminds me of another video game. GoldenEye, perhaps. Of course, if you're going to remind me of a video game, GoldenEye is not a bad one to go with. I decided to start my GameCube reviews with a game I'm familiar with, and I've spent countless hours playing Timesplitters 2 in multiplayer with a friend of mine that had this on PlayStation 2. I don't remember exactly what the graphics looked like on the PlayStation 2 version, but I imagine they look fairly comparable to this. This looks very good for the GameCube. The action is perfectly smooth, just like the other Timesplitters games that I've played on the PlayStation 2. And the Nintendo GameCube controller reminds me a lot of the PlayStation 2 controller, which is a good thing. So as far as does this version hold up to the PlayStation 2 version, I believe it does. I didn't have them side by side, but I had a great time playing Timesplitters 2, and this is the first time I've played through on the story mode. Previously, I just spent all my time on multiplayer, and as we all know, the multiplayer mode in the Timesplitters games is awesome. Timesplitters 2 is a nice bridge between the first Timesplitters game and Timesplitters Future Perfect.
Everyone's on the take. The DA, City Hall, even the cops on the beat.
Timesplitters Future Perfect, which I previously reviewed, is my favorite of the series. It's the most technically advanced and it has the most entertaining story. The first Timesplitters had these short contained missions. You'd win the mission and then have to shoot your way back out through all the Timesplitters. The third Timesplitters, which is Timesplitters Future Perfect, had more of a storyline and longer missions. This one is in between the two.
Get the hell out of my meat!
The hour is at hand. The gates of heaven will be opening for me. Are you a believer, a pretty girl? The angels will come.
What I love about the Timesplitters games is the action and the controls are just rock solid, they're intense, they're fun. I just love the way the game handles and plays. It feels a lot like GoldenEye. They're interesting games too because they're funny. They're these fast-paced, violent video games where you're shooting the heads off zombies, but it's not such gratuitous, in-your-face violence like you'd see in some of the new Call of Duty games, but it's not exactly completely cartoony and sanitized either. They have a good sense of humor, and they play off movie parodies quite a bit. There is a storyline to the game, but for the most part it plays out like a action-packed episode of Quantum Leap.
With the enemy, but I've taken a direct hit.
What's your damage, sir?
The engine's shaky, but I'll be okay if it doesn't overheat. Uh-oh.
Cortez goes back through time, and he's not exactly Cortez like he is in Timesplitters Future Perfect. He ends up as these other people in different times, and of course there comes the whole Timesplitters concept. So you end up shooting your way through like 1932 Chicago, through some alien world in the future, which is what we're watching here in this UFO stage, which is pretty cool and reminds me of one of the old Bugs Bunny and Marvin the Martian cartoons. The game starts off in that 1990s Siberia, so it's a great variety of levels in here. And as with the other Timesplitters games, the level designs are very creative, they're very well done, and the weapon selection is also a lot of fun. And I like the plasma auto rifle and the shotguns, and the assault shotgun and the flamethrower. And the music in the Timesplitters games is some of the best video game music out there. And here in Timesplitters 2, there's a number of tracks that you could use when you were doing map making in Timesplitters Future Perfect. My favorite level in the game, and by far the one that stands out the most, in my opinion, is Neo Tokyo, which might have been slightly inspired by a film. Do androids dream of playing Timesplitters? Perhaps they do. I love the not even close to subtle recreation of Blade Runner, including the talking walk and don't walk signs. Sirens and the spinner. Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies, so it's nice to see something resembling Blade Runner here. In fact, now that the new games are looking almost lifelike, they should make a game based on Blade Runner. Timesplitters 2 has an interesting array of missions as well. All of them revolve around you going back in time. You have to do a few things, whether you're shooting people or following somebody, and then having to solve the riddle of the Timesplitters, which is sort of a bad explanation of the plot. But let's be honest, plot is not exactly this game's strength. It's silly and it's fun, and that's what makes it good. And that's why you play it, not so much for the in-depth story of Timesplitters. Just like in GoldenEye, you have a number of mission objectives that you have to complete, and after you do all of that, the time portal opens back up, and you make your way to the time portal and go on to the next level, and you win bonus characters that you can play in multiplayer. This game is ridiculously cheap today. I picked up my GameCube disc for $2.50 used. And I am so eagerly awaiting a new Timesplitters game in the future. I hope they come out with one that just blows all the other ones away. I can't recommend this game enough. If you have a GameCube or a Wii or a PlayStation 2, you've got to pick up Timesplitters 2.